Nora Gray has never been one of those girls that has been so infatuated with falling in love. She's much too focused on her schoolwork to even consider any guy that goes to her school in Coldwater, Maine. However, on a day when her biology teacher makes the class switch lab partners, she gets partnered up with a boy who is new to her school named Patch. Patch is a very brooding, very dark person, and she doesn't really know how to feel about him. He's scary, and he has a past that Nora is not sure if she wants to know. However, despite that, she feels some kind of connection with him. She's somehow drawn to his negativity and his darkness, and she doesn't know exactly why, but she wants to know who he is and what exactly he is up to when it comes to her. In her search, she finds some very, very dark secrets about Patch, especially the fact that he is a fallen angel, and finds out a lot about his past that he would not be proud to reveal to anyone, especially Nora. In Becca Fitzpatrick's story, Hush Hush, the first novel in the Hush Hush series, we follow Nora as she finds out more about Patch and his past, and some very likely enemies pop up here and there as she tries to dig deeper into his past and find out who exactly is Patch and why is he so attractive to her and why is she so enthralled in finding out about him. I will say right off the bat that I did enjoy this novel quite a lot. I had so many friends that had read this book themselves and had read this series that had ranted and raved to me about how much I needed to read this book and how much I was going to love it because I'm very into the supernatural kind of romancy teen fiction kind of stuff, and I was a little skeptical because I wasn't sure if this was going to live up to all of the hype that I had been hearing about it, and I will say that it did live up to a lot of the expectations I had for it, which is a good sign. The book itself actually kept me enthralled throughout the entire story, and I'm very excited to say that I will be reading the rest of the series because I do want to know exactly what does happen in the future for Nora and for Patch after how this book had ended. I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't read it, but if you have read it, I'm pretty excited to see how this story goes. As far as the characters, I really did enjoy the character of Nora Gray. I found her very, very relatable because I feel like if I was in her position, I would be just as quizzical but still just as drawn to the character of Patch and how he's very dark. And I would be very, very curious but at the same time very scared to find out anything about him and want to understand who he is and where he comes from and what he is exactly about. However, I do feel like she was a little bit too curious at times, but curiosity killed the cat as the saying goes, so it made sense to me. And to be completely honest, I don't know if anybody else who has read this book had this pop into their head when it came to Nora, but if this was to be made into like a TV show or a movie series, the person I can think of that I feel like best fits Nora's physical traits, in my mind at least, would be either the girl that was in Stranger Things that played the older sister, or someone that is very, very close in that age range or kind of looks. I felt like for some reason Nora had very pouty lips and very big, bright eyes with big, fluffy, curly hair. That was what they had said in the novel, at least, was she had big, dark, curly hair. And for some reason, all I thought about was the sister from Stranger Things. I think her name was Susan, I want to say. I may be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen Stranger Things, but I really think she could be the person to play Nora. As far as the character of Patch, I was very put off from him in the very beginning of the novel. I found him very arrogant, he was very lewd and very sexist, and I just didn't see any of the appeal that Nora was seeing in him at the very beginning of the novel. However, naturally, as the novel progressed, I was beginning to see a little bit more about why he is so attractive to her, and the fact that he was very dark and very mysterious. And many girls that are like Nora and like myself are attracted to kind of the mysterious dark types because we are so inquisitive about that. So I fully related to Nora throughout this entire story as far as when it came to Patch, because towards like the end of the novel, he was much more open, he wasn't as guarded, and that was because Nora had found out a lot about him throughout the course of the novel, so he was much more open about talking about things with her that he was hiding. So I think that over the course of the novel, I grew to love him a lot more, but at the very beginning, I was very, very put off with him, and I think that was smart of Becca Fitzpatrick to do, because for me, because many of the novels I have read is where the love interest is a friend or somebody that the main character trusts, and from there they build this relationship. So it's very refreshing for me to see kind of a more bad boy type that is very arrogant and very off-putting at first to be attractive and more understandable later on. The only character I found that was absolutely unnecessary and was very annoying was Nora's best friend, V. I absolutely hated her throughout this entire novel. And I don't know if that was intentional, because V was one of those characters where she is very, very much centered around boys. She's very boy crazy and will do anything to get a guy's attention. She is the best friend of Nora, and so she's the complete opposite of Nora in every aspect, and she just complains so much throughout the novel. She complains about Nora not being out enough. She complains about basically anything that Nora did that she was against, she would complain about. And I absolutely hate people that are like that. The people that cannot understand how a person is and the fact that they want to do other things besides go out and party and go out and just do stupid stuff when they just want to stay at home. I had to deal with that so much throughout my entire life, essentially, that I was appalled by how stupid and how annoying the character of V was. Like, and she was pretty much useless throughout the whole story. She was more so the damsel in distress half the time than Nora was, and she was the main character. So I can't stand the character of V. But regardless of that character, I still really enjoyed the novel, and I honestly think that V could have just been completely taken out of the story, and we still would have had a very intense story about a girl who is chasing almost after this dark and mysterious guy, and it would have just made the whole progress of the novel go so much more smoother, because I felt like V was holding Nora back in a lot of ways, and I cannot stand that when a character pulls back on the main character from doing something that they know they should be doing. So that little rant aside, the novel itself I felt like was very, very interesting. I really related to Nora, like I said, and I felt like that made the novel much more enjoyable to read. It honestly was interesting. The chapter lengths were pretty normal, I would say, anywhere between about 10 to 15 pages a chapter, which is pretty normal in my standards, at least. It's not like how Andy Lockwood's House of 13 was, where it was like 30 to 40 pages a chapter. So this was much more easier to digest, and I felt like the pace of the novel was very, very well done. There was a lot of good intense points, but then there were a lot of lower points afterwards and leading up to the next intense part that made it easier to kind of like follow this wave that was happening throughout the novel. There wasn't any part that was too intense for me where I felt like it was just on high energy the entire novel and there were no low points, and it also wasn't boring where there was all low points and nothing kind of to spike up the intensity of the story. So I feel like Becca did a very good job of pacing this novel, and I'm excited to see how she does with the pacing and the other novels in this series. So yeah, that's really all I had to say about Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. Honestly, I loved it. It was a really great story, and I completely understand why many of my friends had fallen in love with it and why they ranted it and raved to me so much. I guess my only complaints are the fact that I feel like V is a completely useless character, and maybe Nora was a little bit too much on the curious side, but at the same time, I feel like I would be as well when it came to the situation, so I can forgive that from Becca Fitzpatrick. But definitely V should not have even been in this series, because she's just so annoying and so controlling of Nora, and I hate people like her. If you have read the book, you will understand my frustration with her. And even if you haven't read the book, hopefully when you do read it, you will understand my frustration with her, because she just held back Nora so much. It aggravates me to no end. Urgh. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this book review on Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!